tier 1, the stuff you might have seen floating around that gives you that initial oh feeling. Why does this dog look like it should be in a horror film starting off? We have this image from our oddly terrifying. At first glance, it's just a small, fluffy dog, maybe a Yorkie mix, peeking over a wooden fence. But the longer you look, the more unsettling it becomes. It's all in the eyes. They don't look like typical dog eyes. They're wide, eerily symmetrical, and seem to have an almost human-like awareness that is just wrong. The way its fur is tufted around its face gives it a disheveled, almost manic expression. It's the definition of uncanny valley, but for a canine. The comments on Reddit absolutely nail the feeling this picture gives off. The top comment just says, "Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice," and honestly, I can see the resemblance. Another user, xwitiblex, put it perfectly, saying, "This dog has human eyes," or previously human eyes. Something violent occurred here, and I think you'll need to exorcise the demon next door, FFS. And that really gets to the heart of it. It's not just that the eyes look human, but, as another commenter pointed out, they're creepy, sleazy human eyes. It's a perfect storm of features that turns a cute little dog into something that feels ancient and malevolent. It's an image that's both hilarious and, personally, I find it incredibly creepy. Woke up scared stiff last night when I saw a Victorian ghost at the edge of my bed. Took me a few minutes to realize it was my clothes hanging on the door. This next one is a classic case of pareidolia, which is our brain's tendency to see patterns, and specifically faces, in random objects. And boy, does the brain do a number on you with this one. The post, from user CES301187, shows what they saw in the dead of night. In the dimly lit room, a pile of clothes hanging on the back of a door creates a shockingly convincing silhouette of a person. You can clearly make out a head draped in a dark, hood-like garment, with the lighter fabric of a robe or gown cascading down. It genuinely looks like a figure from a gothic horror story, silently floating and watching. You can imagine the heart-stopping terror of waking up to that. The comments are full of people who've had similar experiences. One user said, "I had my phone brightness all the way down and it was even more unnerving." Another shared my exact fear, saying, "I need to take my black housecoat off the hook on the back of my closet door every night before I go to bed. I know what it is. It doesn't keep my brain from turning it into the chick from The Ring every night." It's a powerful reminder of how easily our imagination, fueled by darkness and sleepiness, can conjure up our deepest fears from something as mundane as a pile of laundry. It's hilarious in hindsight, but in that moment, I would have had a heart attack. This TikTok filter has Danny in it. I'm convinced this one is a bit more niche, but absolutely terrifying if you're in on the joke. The image is a screen grab from a TikTok, presumably using some kind of spooky filter that adds a ghostly figure into the background of your video. In the dark corner of this room, you can just make out a pale, grinning face with dark, hollowed-out eyes peeking over a piece of furniture. It's creepy on its own, for sure. But the poster, and many in the comments, are convinced that this isn't just any random scary face, it's the face of YouTuber Danny Gonzalez. And honestly, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The specific shape of the face, and that wide, slightly forced-looking grin is uncannily similar to him. It taps into that weird internet phenomenon of sleep paralysis demons, where a familiar, normally non-threatening face becomes a source of horror. The comments are fantastic, with people saying things like, "When I first saw it, I genuinely thought it might be Danny," and another exclaiming, Oh my god, sleep paralysis, Danny is back. My personal favorite comment just leans into the absurdity. He just gets a little quirky at night, don't judge. It's this bizarre intersection of meme culture and genuine horror that makes the image so memorable and, for fans of Danny, probably a new source of nightmares. That's a hell of a filter. Alright, now on to tier 2. The images here get a little more unsettling. Moving from simple pareidolia to things that feel more viscerally wrong or imply a darker story. Came home late and found this sitting on the edge of my bed. I now know what it's like to be too scared to move. This image is pure, distilled nightmare fuel. Posted by Pac-Man Seats Fruit in R Creepy. It shows a bedroom at night, illuminated only by the faint light coming through a window. Sitting on the edge of the bed is a dark, hunched silhouette. It's vaguely child-sized, but has a misshapen, lumpy quality that makes it feel deeply unnatural. It just sits there, perfectly still, in the one place you're supposed to feel safest. The fear this image evokes is primal, the intruder in the dark, the thing that doesn't belong. What makes this entry so great, though, is the follow-up from the original poster in the comments. After letting the terror sink in, they clarified, for the record, it was my stupid backpack and not a demon child. This reveal is a huge relief, but the comments that followed refused to let the horror go. One user wrote, "Why does your backpack look like a demon? Throw that thing away to save yourself from future heart attacks." Another, Harrison Akos, added a chillingly funny thought. The ability to disguise themselves as backpacks is precisely what makes demon children so dangerous. It's this perfect mix of a genuinely terrifying initial image and a mundane, funny explanation that makes it stick with you. Even knowing it's just a backpack, I can't shake how scary that first look is. My friend cooked red rice, but she put too much water. This one is a masterpiece of unintentional body horror. The image shows a simple white rice cooker sitting on a tiled floor, but something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. A thick, blood-red, viscous liquid has erupted from the steam vent and is dripping down the side, pooling and splattering on the floor in a way that looks disturbingly organic. The title, "My friend cooked red rice, but she put too much water," provides a perfectly innocent explanation, but my brain refuses to accept it. It looks like a crime scene. It looks like the rice cooker is bleeding out after some horrific kitchen accident. The comments immediately picked up on this vibe. The top comment from AlphaHuman304 reads, "Cooked red rice. That's a cool cover-up story," with a reply adding, "Ops, just posting it on Reddit to make it more believable in court." Another user, Fevergrantmind, joked, "I set the rice cooker to the rarely used setting blend, which is just an insane thing to imagine." This picture is such a powerful example of how our minds are wired to recognize patterns of gore and violence, and it can transform a simple cooking mistake into something that looks like it belongs in a David Cronenberg film. I'm both disgusted and deeply impressed. This pair of hip waders, okay. This image is one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen, and the title is just bizarre, which only adds to the mystery. The picture shows a dark, unfinished basement with a set of wooden stairs leading down, and at the bottom of those stairs, partially obscured by a support beam, stands a figure. It's tall, impossibly thin, and seems to be clad entirely in black. Its posture is rigid and unnatural, and it appears to be wearing some kind of boots or, as the title cryptically suggests, hip waders. There's no face, no features, just a stark, black silhouette standing in the damp, dark corner of a basement. The quality of the photo is low, making it feel like a genuinely candid shot of something that was not meant to be seen. Since there's no story provided, our minds are left to fill in the horrifying blanks. Is it a person, a mannequin, something else entirely? The ambiguity is what makes it so terrifying. It represents the absolute fear of the unknown lurking in the dark places of our own homes. The title, This Pair of Hip Waders, is so mundane and disconnected from the horrifying subject that it feels like a piece of surrealist art or a coded message. It's deeply, deeply unnerving. These rubber gloves washing this image is a prime example of how a collection of ordinary objects can become something truly monstrous. It's a shot looking down into a top-loading washing machine. Inside, instead of clothes, is a writhing mass of beige rubber gloves. They're inflated with water, making them look like a tangled pile of swollen, disembodied hands, all reaching and grasping upwards from the murky depths of the washer. It's an incredibly striking and bizarre image that triggers a very specific kind of revulsion. It's like something out of a haunted hospital or a mad scientist's lab. The comments are a mix of horror and dark humor. One user, buttoned down, perfectly referenced Toy Story with the claw. The claw is our master. The claw chooses who will go and who will stay. Another took it in a much darker direction. When you grab one for testing, it starts grabbing you back. And of course, there's the practical question from Poopy Shoot for 2-0. Wait, people wash their rubber gloves? Which was then answered by electricians explaining they wash their high-voltage safety gloves. But even with that logical explanation, the image itself remains the stuff of nightmares. It's like a portal to some hell dimension full of grasping hands opened up in the laundry room. Absolutely not. Alright, now on to tier 3. We're starting to get into images that have a bit more lore, a bit more of a story, and a much more tangible sense of dread. Mum was going through old photos of me, ... This is one of the most iconic creepy photos on Reddit, and for good reason. It's a slightly faded photograph of a young boy, maybe 3 or 4 years old, dressed up smartly in a white shirt, red boatie, and suspenders. He's looking at the camera with a confident, almost cheeky expression. But that's not what makes the photo scary. Looming in the darkened doorway behind him is a figure. It's a tall, shadowy silhouette with what appear to be glowing white eyes. It's the classic monster in the closet, caught on film. The juxtaposition of the innocent, happy child with the terrifying, lurking entity is what makes this so profoundly chilling. It feels like a moment of unknowing danger, frozen in time. The comments, of course, run with this. User McNair imagined the boy's internal monologue. That thing is behind me again, isn't it? But the truly terrifying thought came from Edward_Dildahands, who wrote, "What if it's been with you every day of your life, following you, standing at the foot of the bed as you sleep each night, watching you?" And that's the question that elevates this from just a spooky picture to something that sticks in your mind long after you've scrolled past. The possibility that our childhoods had unseen watchers is a deeply disturbing concept. Bike with slashed tires, you were so easy to find Mark ... This image is terrifying in a completely different way from the others. There's nothing supernatural here, just pure, cold, human menace. The photo shows a handwritten note left on a vehicle, presumably alongside the slashed tires mentioned in the title. The note itself is what's so chilling. It's written in simple, clean handwriting and says, "You were so easy to find, Mark. You should drive more carefully." The underlining of the word so adds a layer of condescending, passive-aggressive threat that is just bone-chilling. This isn't a crime of random vandalism. It's personal, it's targeted, and it's a message. The message is, I know who you are, I know where to find you, and I can get to you. It's a promise of future action if Mark doesn't change his ways. The real-world implication of being tracked down by a vengeful stranger is, for me, far scarier than any ghost. The comments on Reddit actually dug up a news article about the incident, which apparently happened in Portland and involved a conflict between a driver and a cyclist. Going down that rabbit hole, as one user suggested, just makes it even more real and unsettling. It's a stark reminder that the most frightening monsters are often just other people. Keeper of the woods. This is an image that perfectly blurs the line between art and something that would make you run for your life if you stumbled upon it in real life. The photo shows a sculpture in a birch forest titled Keeper of the Woods. The sculpture itself is made to look like it's part of a birch tree with the same white, peeling bark for skin. It's a tall, slender, feminine figure, but its hands are dark, gnarled branches, and its hair is an explosive tangle of twigs that looks like a crown of thorns. It's both beautiful and deeply menacing. The way it blends into its surroundings makes it feel like a genuine nature spirit, a genius loci that is neither good nor evil, but powerful and ancient. If you saw this from a distance, you would absolutely believe you'd seen a real cryptid. The comments section provides some amazing context. The top comment points out that this is reminiscent of a short horror film called The Birch, which is about a protective monster summoned by a bullied teen. Others made the inevitable but very fitting comparison to monsters from The Witcher 3. With one user joking, "Creepy tidies out. Yep, that's a Witcher boss." It's a testament to the artist's skill that this piece of art so effectively taps into ancient folklore and modern horror tropes. My husband took this picture on his way to work. This photo is all about atmosphere. It's a grainy, low-light picture taken in what looks like the early morning, with incredibly thick fog blanketing everything. In the middle distance, you can see the dark, hazy silhouette of a person walking alone in a field. The fog obscures all detail, leaving just a stark, lonely figure moving through a grey, featureless void. There's an overwhelming sense of isolation and eeriness. It feels like a scene from a Stephen King novel, or, as many commenters pointed out, the video game Silent Hill. The top comment is simply "Welcome to Silent Hill," with a reply, quoting the iconic line from the second game, "In my restless dreams, I see that town." The image perfectly captures that game's unique brand of psychological, fog-drenched horror. Other comments debated the figure's movement. One person said, "He looks like he's moving at a nice, slow, serial killer pace," while another saw it differently. "At first, it looked like he was walking away, but my mind easily turned him around and added a brisk, straight-legged speed walk, synced with a dead, locking eye contact. Nope, thank you." The power of this photo is its ambiguity. It's a blank, spooky canvas, and our brains paint the scariest possible story onto it. We're now entering Tier 4. These images are more obscure, more intense, and often deal with liminal spaces and the fear of what's just out of sight. I was driving down a woodside road in the mountains and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. This one is just pure, high-octane nightmare fuel. The photo is taken from inside a car, looking out at the side of a dark, wooded road at night, and standing there on the grassy embankment, just at the edge of the trees, are 4 or 5 small, white, humanoid figures. They look like crude, handmade dolls or effigies, with blank, expressionless faces and stick-like bodies. They just stand there in a silent, creepy little group, illuminated by the car's headlights. They bring to mind the Kodama from Princess Mononoke, but with a much more sinister vibe. The fact that the driver not only saw this, but stopped, reversed, and took a picture is insane to me. My first instinct would be to floor it. The comments perfectly capture the creeping dread. One user quoted the song Actual Canival, si a la veo. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot him, ... Shia LaBeouf. But a more terrifying thought came from another user. My gut is saying it's a distraction. You should have been looking the opposite direction, ... And that is a chilling idea. What if these little figures were just bait? This image is so effective because it's a complete mystery. There's no explanation, just this bizarre, terrifying tableau on the side of a lonely mountain road. It was standing in front of my bedroom window at 2 a.m. This entry is based on a title that implies a truly horrifying image, one that taps into our most basic fears of home invasion and being watched, while the original image is lost. The scenario it describes is a universal nightmare. Imagine waking up in the dead of night, that strange feeling that you're not alone, and looking towards your window, and there, silhouetted against the faint moonlight, is a figure, standing, watching. The sheer violation of it is what's so scary. Your bedroom is your sanctuary, and the window is the fragile barrier between your safe space and the unpredictable world outside. To have that barrier breached, even just visually, is profoundly disturbing. It could be anything: a person with bad intentions, a prankster, or, as our imaginations might suggest, something not quite human. The time, 2 a.m., is also key. It's the witching hour, a time when the world feels asleep and you feel most alone and vulnerable. An image like this would be all about the silhouette, the lack of detail, and the terrifying questions it raises. How long has it been there? What does it want? And what will it do next? It's a simple concept, but it's one of the most effective and enduring horror tropes for a reason. The smile room. There is something so deeply wrong about this picture. It shows a filthy, dilapidated room with peeling paint and crumbling tiles. It looks like a room in an abandoned asylum or a derelict industrial building. But painted on the back wall, over a doorway leading into absolute darkness, is a pale yellow semicircle with the words "The Smile Room" written in cheerful, pink, blocky letters. The juxtaposition is what makes this so incredibly menacing. A friendly, inviting phrase associated with happiness and joy is plastered onto a scene of urban decay and filth. It feels like a trap. It's a promise that is clearly false. What kind of smiling happens in a place that looks like this? The doorway itself is a void, a black rectangle that promises nothing good. The comment section immediately started creating lore for it. One user wrote, "Door slams shut." Another connected it to the Smiler roller coaster at Alton Towers, which has its own creepy lore. But the best one came from Garbage Slespool, who wrote a disturbing nursery rhyme. "You will laugh for weeks and weeks should you encounter Mr. Sneaks. He'll give you tickles, candy, too, and then his special sleepy brew." This image is a masterclass in psychological horror, using simple text and context to create a palpable sense of dread and danger. The stairs I have to take to leave work. This image is a perfect example of liminal space horror. It's a simple, grainy photo looking down a steep, narrow staircase. The walls are a sickly, yellowish white, and the stairs descend into a patch of absolute, impenetrable darkness. There's no visible landing, no hint of what's at the bottom, just a void. The title, "The Stairs I Have to Take to Leave Work," adds a layer of mundane dread. This isn't some haunted house. It's a daily reality for someone. Imagine having to descend into that pitch black unknown every single day. Your mind would inevitably start to play tricks on you. What's down there? What if the light doesn't turn on? What if something is waiting at the bottom? The comments immediately made the connection to one of the most famous internet horror legends. User _go simply posted a link to SCP-087, also known as the stairwell. SCP-087 is a story about an endless staircase that descends into darkness, where people hear the cries of a child and are hunted by a terrifying entity. The resemblance is uncanny. The original poster even replied, "Thanks. Now I'm even more afraid." This picture is so effective because it taps into very common fears: the dark, enclosed spaces, and the unknown. Found a hole behind some shelves at work that leads to underground tunnels. This entry conjures an image of pure, claustrophobic dread and forbidden discovery. Imagine you're at your normal, boring job, maybe moving some boxes in a storage room. You shift a heavy shelving unit, and behind it, in the wall, is a hole. It's not a small hole. It's a dark, man-made opening, just big enough for a person to crawl through. Peering inside with a flashlight reveals not just a crawl space, but the beginning of a tunnel, stretching away into the darkness. The discovery is both thrilling and terrifying. Who made these tunnels? Where do they go? Are they part of the building's original design, or something more clandestine? The workplace setting makes it even more bizarre. It's a hidden, unknown world existing just behind the facade of everyday life. This is the stuff of urban legends and horror movies. You can just picture the story. A curious employee ventures in and either gets hopelessly lost in a maze of forgotten catacombs beneath the city, or, worse, discovers that they are not alone down there. It's the fear of the unknown, the fear of what lies beneath our feet, and the temptation to explore places we were never meant to find. A photo of this would be all about the contrast between the mundane shelves and the dark, mysterious maw of the tunnel. We've made it to Tier 5. We are deep in it now. These are specific, legendary, and often truly disturbing images and stories from the depths of Reddit. Old Chuck E. Cheese Robot Factory in Orlando. This one is for anyone with a healthy dose of automotonophobia, the fear of animatronics. The image is from an old, real Chuck E. Cheese Robot Factory, and it is deeply unsettling. It shows the stripped-down endoskeleton of an animatronic, possibly Mitzi Mozzarella from the Showbiz Pizza Band, hanging from the ceiling. Its plastic eyes are askew, its wig is matted and sits crookedly on its metal skull, and its long, spindly limbs dangle lifelessly. It's a horrifying glimpse behind the curtain of childhood entertainment. The cheerful characters we saw on stage are revealed to be these terrifying, skeletal machines. It's the uncanny valley cranked up to 11. The comments on this post are fascinating because they predate one of the biggest horror franchises in modern history. The top comment from Admiral Turtleimbo, posted years before the movie came out, says, "Man, they should make some kind of horror game where the antagonists are cursed, deteriorated animatronics. I bet it would make a killing." It's an insanely prescient comment that perfectly predicted the premise of Five Nights at Freddy's. The original poster also shared a link to an entire album of photos from the factory, which is a rabbit hole of pure nightmare fuel. This image isn't just creepy. It's a piece of internet history that feels like a prophecy. Watcher in the forest. At first glance, this image might seem similar to the Keeper of the Woods from a previous tier, but it has a very different energy. Titled You encounter the Watcher of the Forest while traveling to the forest boss. This picture shows a tree that has grown in a bizarre, monstrous shape. It looks like a hulking, humanoid figure with massive arms and a distinct head, seemingly wrapped around or emerging from a normal tree. It looks less like a graceful spirit and more like a brutish, powerful guardian or a mini-boss in a video game, which is exactly how the title frames it. It's thick, gnarled, and looks like it's made of pure muscle and bark. It's another amazing example of nature creating something that our brains immediately recognize as a monster. The comments section for this one is unique because, instead of just reacting with fear, people started role-playing as if they were in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. One user asks, "Talk hello, noble watcher. As one whose kind are forest creatures, may I pass?" To which the original poster replies, "What are you doing in the forest?" Another player takes a different approach. Draw a crumpled card and say that I found its weakness. It's a fascinating look at how a creepy image can spark creativity and collaborative storytelling. Turning a spooky picture into an interactive adventure. Don't go up. This image is pure psychological horror, created with nothing more than a piece of paper and a printer. It shows a sign taped to a brick wall. The sign has a warning header and a grainy picture of a staircase. Below the picture, the text reads, "Do not ascend. This building has no fourth floor." And then, in a smaller, more sinister font at the bottom, it adds, "The voices calling you up do not belong to your loved ones." This is terrifying on so many levels. It creates a complete horror story out of thin air. First, it presents a logical impossibility stairs that lead to a floor that doesn't exist. This is classic architectural horror, similar to the Winchester Mystery House. Then, it adds a direct, auditory threat. Not only are the stairs wrong, but something is actively trying to lure you up them by mimicking the voices of people you trust. It plays on our curiosity and our deepest emotional connections. You'd be tempted to go up just to see what's there, while also being petrified of what you might find. The comments make references to Doctor Who's The Lodger and the video game Control, both of which feature similar themes of impossible architecture and malevolent entities. It's an incredible piece of microfiction presented as a real-world artifact. The Atlantic County Courthouse in Mays Landing, NJ. This one is a straight-up ghost photo, but it comes with a compelling backstory that makes it all the more chilling. The image itself shows a white door with two small windows in it, taken inside the Atlantic County Courthouse. If you look closely at the top right window, you can see a distorted, dark face with hollow-looking eyes and a downturned mouth, as if it's peering out. The title claims this is the allegedly captured the face of the crying woman. On its own, it's a spooky but debatable image. Some commenters were skeptical, suggesting it looks edited in with the scan lines trying very badly to hide it, or that it's just a reflection on a TV screen or monitor. However, the original poster, The Zaya's Own, came into the comments and provided crucial context. They wrote, "I worked at the Atlantic County Courthouse in Mays Landing. Nay, this historic courthouse is reputed to be haunted, and nearly every person that worked there had some sort of encounter. This image was captured by my friend Marianne. It is a picture of the door to courtroom number 4, which is reputed to be an active area." They go on to say this is the same spot where they personally witnessed a disembodied leg walk across the hall. This first-hand account adds a massive layer of credibility and lore to an already creepy photo, transforming it from a random blob squatch into a piece of a larger, ongoing haunting. I was taking pictures of my house when this happened there. was no one else in the house. This is one of those brilliant horror images that relies on you almost missing the scary part. The photo shows a plain, wood-paneled, and seemingly empty room. There's a ceiling fan, a closed door, and a glass pane door leading outside. The poster's claim is that they were alone when taking the picture. At first, you scan the room, looking for a hidden face or a figure in the shadows, and you find nothing. You might even think the poster is mistaken. But then you look at the reflection in the glass of the exterior door. Reflected in the panes is the faint but unmistakable image of a tall, slender figure wearing a hat, standing just outside. It has a very slender man or man in the hat vibe. The figure is clearly the one taking the picture, which makes the poster's claim there was nobody else there a complete contradiction. But that's the genius of it. The horror is in the reflection. Many comments are from people pointing it out, like Darth Garlic, who says, "Apparently, there was someone else there. You can see their reflection in the window glass." It isn't rocket science. But this misses the point. The horror comes from the poster's denial. Are they lying? Or do they genuinely not remember being that person in the hat? It creates a creepy narrative of a haunting or even a split personality, leaving the viewer to wonder what is actually going on. Okay, Tier 6. We are nearing the bottom. These entries are deep cuts, bizarre coincidences, unsettling, real-world discoveries, and things that are just plain weird. Egyptian actress and Jennifer Lawrence. This entry is less about horror and more about the deeply strange and uncanny. It's a side-by-side comparison. On the left is a picture of the actress Jennifer Lawrence. On the right is a black and white photo of a classic Egyptian actress. The resemblance is absolutely astounding. They have the same eyes, the same nose, the same facial structure. It's not just a passing similarity. They could be twins separated by decades and continents. The original Reddit post claimed it was the user's grandmother, but the comments section quickly turned into a classic Reddit fact-checking frenzy. User Not Jiggy-Witted pointed out that the actress is actually Zubaydah Tharwat, a well-known star of the golden age of Egyptian cinema, and called out the OP for likely lying for karma. This debate itself is fascinating, but it doesn't change the core weirdness of the image. The doppelganger effect is so strong here that it leads to all sorts of strange thoughts. Are they related? Is it just a 1 in a billion genetic coincidence? Or is it evidence for something stranger, like reincarnation or the idea that there are only so many facial templates to go around? It's profoundly weird to see two people who look so identical yet have no connection. It messes with your sense of individuality and leaves you with a very curious, slightly unsettled feeling. I pass this every single day. This image is just, what on earth? It shows the porch of a house, and sitting on it is a giant, horrifying statue of a carton of French fries. But this is not the friendly Frylock from Aquatine Hunger Force. This thing is a nightmare. The fry container itself serves as the face, with a massive, gaping, black mouth stretched into a manic grin and wild, staring eyes. The fries on top look like greasy, unkempt hair. The whole thing is weathered and slightly dirty, giving it a very sinister, haunted carnival vibe. The poster's simple caption, "I pass this every single day," adds a layer of surreal, mundane horror. Imagine that being part of your daily commute. The mystery of what it is and why it's there is a huge part of its power. The comments section works together to solve the puzzle. Some users immediately identified it as a creepy version of Frylock. Then, another user suggested it might be an old Hardee's mascot. The original poster then confirmed this finding, a post on our collectibles about the same figure, identifying it as a vintage item from an old Hardee's. Even with an explanation, it doesn't make it any less terrifying. It's a bizarre piece of forgotten corporate art that has aged into a pure horror artifact. I would not want to walk past that at night. I think I found an unmarked grave. This one is different. It's not about a jump scare or a monster. It's a slow, creeping, and very real sense of dread and solemnity. The user Lapistime posted a photo taken deep in the woods while deer hunting. The picture shows a patch of forest floor, and in the middle of the leaves and twigs, you can clearly see a rectangular outline of stones, perfectly sized to be a grave. 2 long, moss-covered wooden logs lie on top, like a decaying frame. The caption expresses the user's chilling thought: "It's too purposeful to be random and the right size for an adult. Is it a grave or something else? Because I can't stop thinking about it." The initial thought is terrifying. Did they just stumble upon a secret, undiscovered burial site, possibly of a missing person? The top comment from Slasherman urges them to contact the police. But the real story, and what makes this entry so profound, comes in an update from the op in the comments. They spoke to their father, who confirmed it was indeed a very old grave from before their grandfather even bought the land in the late 60s. He said it was just a lesser-known thing, a reminder of a time when people were often buried on their own land. The op then reflects on the real creepy part. This is a reminder that we are all here temporarily, and that will be eventually forgotten to time. That's what's so powerful. It's a memento mori, a tangible piece of history that speaks to mortality and being forgotten. Alright guys, this is it. Tier 7, the very bottom of the iceberg. This entry is a deep dive into one of the most unsettling sets of photos I've ever seen on Reddit. Abandoned funeral home with everything left behind. This isn't just one photo. It's a full-on urban exploration album posted by places_forgotten, and it's profoundly disturbing. The pictures take us on a tour through an abandoned funeral home, where it looks like the workers just dropped everything and walked away one day. Each photo is more unsettling than the last. We see the embalming room, with the cold, sterile metal table in the center. On the walls are anatomical charts and an emergency eye wash station. But it's the details that are so horrifying. There's a close-up of the embalming tools, laid out on a paper towel as if ready for the next body trocags, forceps, scalpels. There are shelves stocked with bottles of embalming fluid, like Keltham 30, with warnings about formaldehyde being a cancer hazard. We see old, dusty boxes for things like Armstrong denture replacers and a scar tissue repair kit from the Mortician's Supply Co. There's even a grimy makeup kit, presumably for cosmetology on the deceased. And to top it all off, in the garage, covered in a thick layer of dust, sits the hearse. The entire set of photos paints a picture of a place that was dedicated to the most intimate and sanitized aspects of death. Now left to decay itself, it's a raw, unfiltered look at the business of death, and seeing it all abandoned and frozen in time is incredibly eerie. It's a powerful and deeply unsettling look at the one thing we all have in common, and that was the most disturbing Reddit photos iceberg. This was a pretty fun video to make, and it was kind of different, diving into all these weird corners of internet history. Some of those are going to stick with me for a while, especially that funeral home. Thank you all so much for watching. It really does mean the world to me. The support on the channel has been insane lately, and I can't thank you enough. If you're still watching and you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to help us reach our next goal. Let me know in the comments what you thought, or if there are any creepy photos that have always stuck with you. I'd love to hear about them. Until next time, see you.